So about the gameplay, well, I was seriously disappointed of Blast when I first saw his moves. It's not that it's bad, at least it is original and doesn't seem to have been copied from any other fighting game character. But these guys don't have very innovative moves or subsystems, they are simply characters very oriented to the offensive. In gameplay, Seal is very similar to Blast, but with many differences including the way you input his commands. And while the animations are the same, the properties tend to change so much you could say they have different moves. Also, they have different normals and exclusive special moves. Blast has a guitar riff move and a near grab auto combo, while Seal has a falling side attack and he is able to perform a dive kick in air. There are even more differences, for example, Seal's Frambo Super does a little less damage but bounces the opponent in wire to allow you to follow up and control a little more the situation. I favor Seal's gameplay over Blast, mainly because it gives you a tighter control of the characters. It lets you decide if you want to perform a follow-up or to abort your attack. Blast gameplay is much more straightforward. His moves are more powerful but too much recovery time, basically you miss once and it's very easy to get screwed. I also enjoy more Seal's aerial attacks, including his air super, in contrast with Blast who is based on overkilling, that's beating an opponent and smash it while he is still on the ground. The complete opposite, one could say. So, and aside of the effectiveness of their gameplay, but going with the visual aspect, in my opinion, for a potentially very cool and stylish fighting style like fighting with a guitar, it should have been much flashier. I mean, fighting with a sword or a machine gun can be extreme, but fighting with a guitar as a weapon, that's got to be awesome! Outside of things like surfing in their guitars and a couple very cool and stylish animations like the intros or the move where they spin their guitars imbued with energy at high speed, or their shoryukens, the rest is not much impressive. I was also disappointed by their hidden supers, whose animations look cheap and recycled. Blast simply raises his hand, a bunch of floating clubs appear in the background for some reason, and then a fire pillar rises from the ground engulfing the opponent. Seal's hidden move is equally underwhelming. He just performs an ice slash, then turns his back and barely moves as ice crystals burst around the opponent. For being their maximum supers, I would have expected something more impressive, especially for the animations, they being guitarists, I expected that they would, I don't know, maybe play their guitars in their max super. It's sad, but while hidden supers are supposed to be the most powerful attack of the fighter, they more than often are playing budget moves, with recycled animation and very little actual movement. In the case of these two fighters, they couldn't be less exciting. Maybe if they had been powerful and important characters in the plot, they could have had a more over-the-top and spectacular gameplay, and it has to do with the fact they had even been announced as premium exclusive characters, so I naturally expected something extremely flashy that would really blow my mind. It was not the case because they decided to make them not important for the plot, and instead they're clearly ground level. While probably if their power levels were just like Crazy Brazil, probably we would have seen all kind of crazy stuff like musical notes flying, controlling lasers via guitar riffs, strangling people with the chords of their guitars, and yes, I know I'm thinking about Eno. So while the idea was making these characters more restrained, their gameplays are not interesting enough and don't exploit on much things like a fighter with a guitar could do. In fact, the musical element is only sporadically present, with a couple random guitar riffs in only a few special attacks. But how does their charisma reflect in the game? Blast's personality is not that prominent, just like I said, he is sort of similar to King in attacking. With a more festive personality, yes, but not too much to really get your attention. One could expect a true party beast of the crazy rocker he's said to be, but not much here. They could have made him a crazy party animal with spastic animations, but they went for something mild, and so he ended up being quite grey. The voice is nice but not addicting, like it should be for a rocker. Seal, on the other hand, is the calm, righteous, and disciplined guy.
冰霜无形，天籁无际。
I like much his description in bio, check it, but still since the first artwork I expected somebody even more serious to the point of severity, like Jinky Saraki from BlazBlue. It didn't turn out to be exactly like that. In fact, he's a sensitive and caring guy, but still nothing wrong with that. Seal's animations do the job very well and he's likable. I like this detail in which he creates a little ice layer in the floor and slides on it during his back roll. I also love his overly cool victory pose.
Winner! 完美一局。
Fairly inspirational. I definitely like much this character, but for somebody who is a sort of a more romantic person, maybe he lacked a little more patience on his animations. Seal's voice is just fine and in tune with the character, but nothing really memorable.
冲天！一图对，来狂喷吧！
So Seal and Blast are certainly not less charismatic than the rest of the cast, but they're not especially charismatic either. And for being crazy rockers, they seriously should have been something more attractive. And so this is the end of my breakdown. Like you see, in a first impression, Blast was a big disappointment to me, for a character so long time announced and with such an awesome concept. Despite of being underwhelming, there's nothing terrible about his design, but in my opinion, is one of the most mediocre characters of the game. Seal improved the things a little, as his gameplay is a little more intricate, but nothing truly out of this world. And his visuals, even with some very cool animations here and there, could definitely have been a little better. As a conclusion, I don't think these characters lived to the hype, and were not as flashy, charismatic, relevant in the plot, and original in gameplay as crazy rockers who control elements should have been. But in the end, that's what we have, and that's the way that twin characters of the game turned out to be. At least one could say their gameplays are different enough to be worthy. You can compare them more with Hanzo and Fuma than with Ryo and Ken. So as an experiment, it turned out to be decent, just not great. By the way, if this game will be based around 3 people teams, who will be the third member for this trio? Probably a drummer girl who wears yellow and creates lightning? That will be kind of nice. In fact, I just learned Blast and Seal Chinese names are reference to the Chinese musical scale composed of 5 notes. And furthermore, when Blast meets Ahmed, he tells her about Yu, another member of his team, who is very powerful and apparently a female. So I guess their band is composed of 5 people? If that's the case, I don't think we will see all of them playable in the game. But I'm all in for the other 2 appearing in a team win pose, like the one of Lin in KOF 2001. See you next time for another character review, and thanks for watching.
Draw game.